Welcome to the Tranquility Meditation Podcast, where we help you guys, discover tools and techniques to unlock inner peace and navigate life's, complexities.
Yeah,
And today we're going to be exploring Stoicism,
right.
an ancient philosophy that offers surprisingly relevant wisdom for the modern world.
You know what I find so fascinating about Stoicism is that it doesn't offer just platitudes about positive thinking.
Right.
It really provides a framework for dealing with the inevitable ups and downs of life
Yeah.
and cultivating resilience in the face of challenges.
I love that you use the word practical because I think that's what draws so many people to Stoicism today.
Right.
It's not just a theoretical philosophy. It's
Mhm.
something you can actually apply
Yeah,
to your daily life.
absolutely.
And we have a fantastic source to guide us today. A
Okay.
YouTube series called Stoic Journal that breaks down 10 key principles from Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher.
And Epictetus was all about taking those complex philosophical ideas and making them accessible to
Yeah.
everyone. You know, he believed that philosophy should be a way of life, not just an academic exercise.
Right. And Stoic Journal really captures that spirit.
Mm.
So let's jump into the first principle, which is about having a firm purpose in life.
It's like having a compass,
Okay.
that guides your decisions
Yeah.
and helps you stay focused on what truly matters,
Right.
especially when you're facing those difficult situations.
I think we've all experienced that feeling of being lost or adrift,
Right.
not knowing which direction to go in.
Yeah.
A clear purpose can act as that anchor, providing a sense of direction and meaning.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be something grand or world-changing.
Right.
It could be something as simple as being a loving parent, a supportive friend,
Yeah.
or a dedicated artist. The key is that it resonates with your core values and gives
Yeah.
you a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Stoic Journal even quotes Epictetus on this, saying, "Difficulties show a person's character. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it."
Oh, that's powerful.
It's a powerful reminder that challenges are not meant to break us,
Right.
but to reveal our inner strength.
Yeah.
And having a purpose can help us face those challenges with courage and determination.
Yeah.
It's like having a why that fuels your actions.
Absolutely.
Speaking of facing challenges, the second principle is all about guarding your mind.
Okay.
Now, this might sound a little intimidating at first, like we're
Why?
supposed to become emotionless robots or something, but
Yeah.
what does guarding your mind actually look like in practice?
It's not about suppressing emotions,
Right.
It's more about cultivating mental discipline and becoming aware of your thoughts and reactions.
Okay.
Imagine yourself as a watchful guardian at the gate of your mind. You're not letting just any thought or emotion wander in
Yeah.
and take control. You're being selective about what you allow to influence you.
In Stoic Journal, they use this great analogy of a baker
Okay.
who's completely absorbed in their craft. They're not seeking praise or fearing criticism.
Right.
They're solely focused on the process of creating the perfect loaf of bread.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It highlights the idea of finding freedom through internal standards of excellence rather than external validation.
Right.
It's about doing your best for its own sake,
Right.
not for the applause or approval of others.
That makes me think about mindfulness practices like meditation. It's
Yeah.
about observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment,
Mm.
creating that space between a stimulus and your response.
Right.
So you can choose how you want to react.
You've hit on a key point there.
Yeah.
Stoicism and mindfulness share that common ground. The ability to observe your inner world without getting swept away by it.
Yeah.
And by cultivating that awareness, you gain more control over your emotional responses.
Okay, moving on to a topic I think we can all relate to. Handling criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in today's world of social media, it feels like everyone has an opinion,
Right.
and they're not afraid to share it,
Yeah.
often in quite a harsh way.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity and take things personally.
Right.
But the Stoics remind us that we can't control what other people think or say about us.
Yeah.
All we can control is our own reaction.
It's like that saying, what other people think of me is none of my business.
Yeah. Yes. And it's a powerful reminder that our self-worth doesn't come from external validation.
Right.
It comes from within.
Stoic Journal even highlighted the story of St. Simeon Stylites,
Okay. Ooh.
who faced intense criticism while staying true to their spiritual path.
Wow.
I was struck by their ability to remain focused on their mission, even in the face of negativity and opposition. Like, they understood that other people's judgments often say more about them
Correct.
than about the person being judged.
Absolutely. It takes a tremendous amount of inner strength to not be swayed by external opinions,
Yeah.
especially negative ones, and it requires a clear understanding of your own values and priorities. You have to know what truly matters to you so you don't get sidetracked by distractions
Right.
or discouraged by disapproval.
Which brings us to the next principle, transforming offense.
Okay.
Instead of letting criticism or insults derail us, how can we actually use them as opportunities for growth?
That's a great question, and honestly, it's something I'm still working on myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing that it's not the offense itself that hurts us,
Right.
but our reaction to it. The Stoics believed that we have the power to choose how we interpret events and how we respond to them.
It's like that classic quote from Epictetus. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things.
Exactly.
So if someone says something hurtful, we can choose to see it as a reflection of their own pain or insecurity, rather than taking it as a personal attack.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of cognitive reframing. Instead of seeing the situation through a lens of anger or resentment,
Yeah.
you're consciously choosing to see it through a lens of understanding or compassion.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're condoning the behavior,
Right.
but you're choosing not to let it control your emotional state.
And sometimes that shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating.
It is.
Like taking back your power.
It is, and it often opens up the possibility for a more constructive response.
Right.
Instead of getting defensive or retaliating, you might choose to have a calm conversation about why the person said what they did.
Yeah.
Or you might simply choose to disengage from the situation altogether.
Stoic Journal even brings up the example of Abraham Lincoln,
Okay.
known for his incredible capacity for forgiveness. He famously said, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" He transformed offense into action, choosing to see his opponents as potential allies, rather than holding on to anger and resentment.
That takes a remarkable level of self-awareness and emotional maturity.
Right.
And it's a powerful reminder that forgiveness is not about weakness, it's about strength. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of negativity so you can move forward with clarity and purpose.
Speaking of emotional burdens, let's dive into overcoming fear and shame.
Okay.
These two can be so heavy to carry,
Yeah.
often holding us back from living a full and meaningful life.
They absolutely can when it comes to fear. Stoicism encourages us to analyze it rationally, breaking it down to see what aspects are within our control and what aspects are not.
Right.
Stoic Journal uses the example of public speaking, which I think a lot of us can relate to. The
Yeah.
fear of public speaking can be paralyzing, but if you break it down, what are you actually afraid of?
Well, I used to be terrified of public speaking. For me, it was the fear of judgment, of making a mistake,
Right.
of not being good enough.
Right. Those are all very common fears.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, you can't control how the audience perceives you or whether they judge you.
Right.
You can only control your own preparation, your delivery, and
Yeah.
the content of your message.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your focus from what you can't control to what you can.
Exactly. And by focusing on the things you can influence, you actually start to build confidence and reduce anxiety.
Yeah.
You're not worrying about what might happen. You're taking action
Right.
to create the best possible outcome.
Okay. But shame is a little different, right? It's not so much about a fear of something in the future,
Yeah.
but a feeling of inadequacy or unworthiness
Right.
based on something that's already happened.
You're right. Shame often stems from past mistakes or perceived failures,
Right.
and it can be really difficult to let go of.
Yeah.
Especially if we're constantly replaying those events in our minds and judging ourselves harshly.
So how does Stoicism help us deal with shame?
Stoicism encourages us to confront shame with courage and self-compassion. It's not about denying or suppressing those feelings, but about acknowledging them,
Right.
accepting them, and then choosing to move forward.
It's about being kind to yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. The key is to learn from those mistakes
Yeah.
and to use them as opportunities for growth.
That's such an important message. Shame thrives in secrecy and isolation.
Right.
But when we bring it out into the open, when we talk about it with compassion and understanding,
Yeah.
it starts to lose its power over us.
And that's where self-forgiveness comes in. It's about recognizing that we're all human, we're all imperfect,
Right.
And we're all doing the best we can with the resources we have.
Beautifully said. And sometimes the most courageous act is simply to forgive ourselves and allow ourselves to move on.
Okay, next we have anticipating obstacles. This one sounds a bit like expecting the worst, which might seem counterintuitive to finding inner peace.
It might seem that way at first, but it's not about being pessimistic. It's about being mentally prepared for the inevitable challenges that life throws our way.
Right.
The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum.
What does that mean?
It means premeditation of evils, which sounds a bit dramatic, but it's really about developing mental resilience.
I like to think of it as having a mental fire drill.
Okay.
You don't expect your house to burn down,
Right.
but you practice what you would do in case it did.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
By mentally rehearsing how we might respond to difficult situations, we reduce the fear of the unknown,
Right.
and we're less likely to be caught off guard and react impulsively when those challenges do arise.
So it's not about expecting bad things to happen, but about having a plan in place if they do.
Exactly. And that plan doesn't have to be elaborate or complex.
Right.
It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths.
Reminding yourself of your core values.
Yeah.
Or reaching out to a trusted friend or mentor for support.
Right.
The key is to have some tools in your toolbox that you can draw upon when things get tough.
It's like building mental muscle. The more we practice anticipating obstacles and developing strategies for dealing with them, the stronger and more resilient we become.
Yeah, it's all about building that inner strength
Yeah.
that allows you to weather the storms of life with grace and composure.
And that brings us to cultivating inner strength, which feels like the core of Stoic philosophy.
It does, doesn't it?
It's about developing that unshakable inner core,
Right.
a sense of peace that can't be disturbed by external events. But how do we actually cultivate that kind of strength?
Well, the Stoics believe that true strength lies not in controlling external circumstances. Because, let's face it, we can't control everything.
Right.
But in mastering our own responses, it's that classic quote, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters.
Right.
But knowing that intellectually and actually embodying it in our daily lives are two very different things.
It requires practice consistency and a willingness to look inward. We have to become aware of our thought patterns, our emotional triggers, and our habitual reactions.
And that's where the other Stoic principles we've been discussing come into play, right? Guarding our minds,
Right.
handling criticism,
Yeah.
transforming offense, overcoming fear and shame. All of these practices contribute to building inner strength.
Exactly. It's like weaving a tapestry. Each principle represents a different thread.
Yeah.
And when they're woven together, they create a beautiful and resilient whole.
I love that analogy. So it's not just about adopting one or two of these principles,
Right.
but about embracing a holistic approach to life.
Yes. Stoicism is more than just a set of rules or techniques.
It's a philosophy of life that invites us to live in alignment with our values,
Right.
to cultivate virtue, and to find meaning and purpose even amidst the chaos of the world.
And then we have the principle of restraining actions.
Oh, okay.
This one seems a bit counterintuitive in a world that often values assertiveness and taking charge.
Right.
Does it mean we should just sit back and do nothing?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not about passivity. It's about acting with intention and reason rather than being driven by impulse or emotion.
Wow. So it's about taking a pause that moment to breathe and reflect before reacting.
Precisely. Stoic Journal used the example of driving in heavy traffic,
Okay.
which I think is something we can all relate to.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone cuts you off and your first instinct might be anger, road rage, maybe even a desire for revenge.
Right.
But Stoicism encourages you to take a breath,
Yeah.
to remind yourself that you can't control the other driver's actions,
Right.
and then choose a calmer, more rational response. That makes me think about the idea of choosing our battles wisely. We don't have to react to every little thing that annoys us.
Right.
Sometimes it's more powerful to simply let things go.
Yes. It's about recognizing that our energy is precious and we want to use it wisely. We don't want to waste it on things that are ultimately outside of our control.
Okay, on to embracing acceptance.
Okay.
Does this mean we have to accept everything that happens to us, even the things that are painful or unfair?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of what acceptance really means.
Okay.
It's not about passive resignation
Right.
or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about recognizing that resistance to what is
Right.
often creates more suffering.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not about liking or approving of a situation,
Right.
but about acknowledging it and choosing to work with it rather than against it.
Exactly. Acceptance is the first step towards effective action.
Yeah.
Let's say you lose your job, for example.
Mm.
Of course, you're going to feel disappointed, maybe even angry or scared.
Right.
But dwelling on those feelings won't change the situation.
Right.
Acceptance allows you to process those emotions, to grieve the loss, and then to focus your energy on what you can do
Right.
to move forward.
So instead of getting stuck in a cycle of negativity and self-blame,
Right.
you're choosing to focus on finding solutions.
Right. You might update your resume network with people in your field or explore new career paths.
Yeah.
Acceptance doesn't mean giving up.
Right.
It means letting go of what you can't control so you can focus on what you can.
So there's a real sense of empowerment in acceptance. It's about taking charge of your own narrative and creating a more positive and fulfilling future.
I love how you put that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that even in the midst of difficulty, we still have choices. We can choose how we respond. We
Right.
can choose where we focus our attention. And we can choose to create meaning out of our experiences.
And finally, we have living according to nature.
Okay.
This one feels a bit more philosophical than the others. What does it actually mean to live in accordance with nature?
It's about aligning ourselves with the natural order of the universe,
Yep.
recognizing that we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
So understanding our place in the world
Yeah.
and living in a way that's harmonious with nature and with our own true nature.
Exactly. And that can look different for everyone. It might mean spending more time in nature, simplifying your life,
Yeah.
practicing gratitude, or focusing on building meaningful relationships.
It seems to encompass this idea of living authentically in alignment with our values and recognizing our interconnectedness with all things.
Yes, it's about embracing simplicity, practicing gratitude, and recognizing our interconnectedness with all things. It's about living in a way that honors both our individual needs and the needs of the larger community.
Wow, we've covered 10 principles that offer such a rich perspective on life. And what's amazing is that these teachings developed centuries ago still resonate so deeply today.
It's timeless wisdom.
Right.
And it's encouraging to know that even in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, we have the tools to cultivate inner peace, resilience, and a sense of purpose.
Absolutely. So how can our listeners start incorporating these principles into their daily lives?
Right.
It's all great in theory, but where do we actually begin?
Well, one of the most powerful and accessible practices is mindfulness.
Okay.
It's something you can do anytime, anywhere,
Right.
and it doesn't require any special equipment or training.
You're talking about simply paying attention to the present moment, right?
Exactly.
Noticing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment.
Exactly. It's about becoming aware of your inner landscape without getting swept away by it. It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot
Right.
and becoming more conscious of what's happening within your own mind and body.
And that awareness creates space for choice. Instead of reacting impulsively,
Right.
you can take a breath,
Right.
observe your thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
and then choose a response that aligns with your values and intentions.
It's about becoming the master of your emotions
Right.
rather than letting your emotions master you.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like taking back your power. But how do we actually cultivate mindfulness? Is it just about sitting on a cushion and meditating?
Meditation is certainly one way to practice mindfulness,
Okay.
and it can be incredibly beneficial,
Right.
but you can also bring mindfulness into everyday activities,
Like what?
like washing the dishes, taking a walk, or even having a conversation.
Okay.
The key is to bring your full attention to the present moment, engaging all of your senses,
Right.
and noticing the details that you might normally overlook.
So instead of letting your mind wander to your to-do list or replaying past conversations while you're washing the dishes, you're really focusing on the feeling of the warm water, the scent of the soap, the sound of the dishes clinking together.
Exactly. And by practicing this kind of present moment awareness,
Yeah.
you start to train your mind to be more focused, more grounded, and less reactive.
Stoic Journal also recommends incorporating some specific Stoic exercises into your daily routine.
Oh, yes, like negative visualization, for example.
That one sounds a bit counterintuitive. Why would I want to visualize bad things happening?
It's not about dwelling on the negative or expecting bad things to happen.
Right.
It's about mentally preparing yourself for challenges.
Okay.
So you're less likely to be thrown off balance when they inevitably arise.
It's like that mental fire drill we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
By imagining potential setbacks,
Right.
you reduce the fear of the unknown and you develop resilience.
And it can actually help you appreciate what you have in the present moment.
Oh, okay.
When you contemplate the possibility of losing things you value,
Mm-hmm.
you tend to cherish them more.
It's like that saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Mm.
But instead of waiting until something is gone, you're consciously appreciating it now.
Exactly. And that brings a whole new level of gratitude and joy to your everyday experiences.
Another Stoic exercise they recommend is journaling. I've always found journaling to be a helpful way to process my thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
But how can we use journaling specifically through a Stoic lens?
Journaling can be a powerful tool for self-reflection and for putting Stoic principles into practice.
Okay.
You can use your journal to explore your values, to examine your reactions to challenging situations, to practice gratitude, or even to engage in negative visualization.
So you might write about a situation that caused you stress or frustration, and then reflect on how you responded. Could you have handled it differently?
Right.
What Stoic principles could you have applied in that moment?
Exactly. And journaling allows you to track your progress over time. You can look back and see how you've grown,
Right.
what challenges you've overcome, and what areas you still want to work on.
And then there's the core Stoic principle of focusing on what's within your control.
Yes.
This one feels so simple, yet so profound.
It is, and it can be incredibly liberating. We often waste so much energy worrying about things we can't control, the weather, traffic,
Right.
other people's opinions, the stock market, the list goes on and on.
Right.
But Stoicism reminds us that true peace and freedom come from focusing on what we can influence, our own thoughts, actions, and responses.
It's about recognizing that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always choose how we respond.
Right.
And that choice is where our true power lies.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
And it's a practice that we can return to again and again throughout our lives. Whenever we feel overwhelmed or stressed,
Right.
we can ask ourselves, what aspects of the situation are within my control?
Right.
And what can I do right now to make the best of it?
Stoicism offers such practical wisdom for navigating the complexities of life. It's not about avoiding challenges or pretending that everything is always rosy.
No, it's about facing challenges with courage and resilience and finding meaning and purpose even in the midst of difficulty.
It's about cultivating inner peace and living a life that aligns with our values.
Well said.
Yeah,
I think we've all gained some valuable insights today.
I know I have. And I hope our listeners feel inspired to explore Stoicism further
I hope so too.
and discover how it can enrich their own lives.
Me too. It's a journey worth taking.
On that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the Tranquility Meditation Podcast.
Yes.
We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Stoicism.
If you'd like to dive deeper into this topic, be sure to check out the links in the episode description for more resources on Stoicism, including the Stoic Journal YouTube channel, which was our guide for today's conversation.
And if you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to like and subscribe to the Tranquility Meditation Podcast. We release new episodes every week exploring a wide range of topics related to mindfulness, meditation, and personal growth.
And be sure to check out our other podcasts as well.
Yes.
We have something for everyone.
Thank you again for listening. Until next time, may you find peace, clarity, and purpose on your journey.